cities, okay, which include Delhi, Bangalore, Gandhinagar. I think Latur, there was a huge crisis. The name is not appearing there, but Latur came in headlines few years back because of acute water scarcity. In fact, there are certain villages where nobody would want their daughters to marry because there is no water. Okay. Jaipur, Amritsar, Indore, Hyderabad, in Chennai hit dry or day zero in 2019. Bangalore is facing similar challenges. Extreme air pollution. I just googled which are the top 10 metros, and this is the list I got. Delhi, Kolkata, Dhaka, Beijing, Mumbai, Ulaanbaatar, Karachi, Jakarta, and these are big cities. They are very, very important from their economic perspectives. And unfortunately, cities like closer home cities like Delhi or Mumbai, they come in praise for bad reasons, especially come winters, and you see Delhi getting mentioned every now and then. Yeah, and the kind of problems, I had worked in pharma industry earlier, and I know that during winters, Delhi used to be a huge challenge. Why Delhi? In fact, most of the northern cities like Kanpur, they used to have huge challenges. And of course, that was a good business or good period for doctors, but not for citizens, ordinary citizens. Mumbai building collapse. So between 19 to 23, there were a series of building collapses. And again, since there is a huge population density, the damage was high. It's a big list. I personally have survived a huge collapse, sometimes in 84. Okay, just about 5 minutes before my train would pass, I was traveling in local, and there was a huge building that just collapsed on the railway track. Fortunately, there was no train that was passing at that point in time. Otherwise, you can imagine the magnitude. Okay, so those are the kind of problems that urban landscape would face. Then there are extreme heat waves that are being reported. I have many friends and relatives in Europe, so they said that every summer is a nightmare. We think that next summer would be some respite, but things are becoming worse. And I do remember that during when I was younger, the temperature like 35 used to be the outer limit. The maximum temperature at 35 used to be the outer limit. Okay, now we say that things are cool in summer because it is somewhere around 38 or 40. 45, 46 has become normal, right? It is new normal, and we all know that our physiology is not designed for those extreme temperatures. Human physiology is not meant for those kind of temperatures. Now, what are the opportunities? I mean, we spoke about problems. What are the opportunities? So one is definitely smart urban planning, and this is where I think a lot of work can be done. And when I say urban planning, I am not necessarily talking about VMC or the regulatory bodies or administrative bodies. I am even talking about the potential buyers or potential customers or those who are already living in their societies. I do believe that we can have or we can exert a good influence in all the little planning that we do. For example, how about changing our energy mix and having solar or renewable energies? How do we look at rainwater harvesting system? So in Chennai, some of the measures that were undertaken after the drought or city turning dry, I think they had made the rainwater harvesting compulsory. Now, I don't think in Baroda we have rainwater harvesting as a compulsory or a compulsion, but why don't we do that? Okay, And why wait for government to take any action? I mean, can we influence our societies and say, okay, let us have rainwater harvesting systems installed, or some change our energy mix from conventional to solar or renewable energy. Green infrastructure, now this is a very important aspect and personally very close to my heart. We need to have more parks, urban forests, green roofs, vertical stacking, and there are some beautiful cities in Europe who have done that well. In Asia, Singapore stands out very clearly as a beautiful city with a lot of green infrastructure. Sustainable transportation. So there are Scandinavian countries, Nordic cities. You have a lot of reliance on bicycles and pedestrian walkways, and those have reduced the carbon footprint big time. And it is also healthy. You know, when you bicycle, it is healthy for your overall physiology and health. Energy efficiency, we talked about that. Energy efficiency, promote energy efficient buildings and renewable energy sources. Social programs, now in cities, there is a lot of social imbalance. And we definitely see skyscrapers surrounded by slums. If you are landing in Mumbai, okay, for example, you see this very starkly. Okay, you see very plush, affluent skyscrapers, towers, and then you see a lot of they are literally surrounded by slums, and then that leads to all sorts of social issues, violence. You have a lot of children, small children, okay, who actually do not have access to quality education, quality medicine, and then they become very easy prey, okay, for crime or all sorts of unwanted activities. So developing programs, developing initiatives towards more social equitable structures. And when we say equitable, we say that there is an access to good quality opportunities, okay, be it in education, be it health. Water management. So water management is something which many cities or citizens they are actually ignoring. But water, if we really study the water phenomenon, India as a country, we are stressed. There are certain global parameters like number availability of certain water per capita, and in technical terms, we as a country, we are water stressed. Okay. And actually there is an SOS requirement for citizens to take matters in their own hands and do some substantial work in this area. Community engagement, I briefly mentioned about that. We need to sort of show up and also shoulder some responsibility by concrete actions. Technology integration, that's something which is part of, they say, under the smart city program. So you actually have a lot of sensors, a lot of technology, okay, for understanding or identifying the problems and quick response to that. Biodiversity conservation, now this is a huge area, and the developmental model that we have in cities, I think it is influenced by a lot of Western influence, which believes that human being is master of nature. Human being is we are separate, nature is separate, humans are supposed to dominate nature. And this isolation has created a lot of problems like destruction of biodiversity, destruction of natural habitats, and we are facing the wrath of nature. So designing, integrating environment or integrating nature in the town planning or in our city planning, that is something which is gaining a lot of prominence, and we in our own societies or in our own areas, we can integrate that. I think the technical term for that is biophilic. So having nature as part and parcel of your planning of your activities, we are looking at these designs very keenly in our company while designing our factories or new factories or existing factories. Education and awareness, so promoting environmental education and sustainable living practices, catching youngsters, okay, right from the college days, school days, that is something which is very important. So integrated environment, socially equitable, tech enabled, these are the kind of frameworks that we need to operate with. Some of the inspiring stories, it is not everything is doom and gloom. Some of you would know that Surat had a massive plague in 1994, and it was the headline, national headline, and there were series of articles and reports. Many people died. It was used to be the dirtiest city, or one of the dirtiest cities. And now if you visit Surat, it is amazing. There is a complete transformation. For many years, Surat is appearing as among top 3 in terms of city cleanliness index, and they have very inspirational programs on waste management, flooding, and water management. They also have a lot of participation of residents. So it's a huge success story of transformation. Copenhagen's bicycle culture, I briefly talked about that. If you visit cities like Copenhagen or Amsterdam, you'll find a lot of importance given on pedestrian walkways and bicycles, and that definitely reduces carbon footprint. They are planning to, this city is planning to go carbon neutral by 25. Singapore, some of you would have definitely visited Singapore, and it definitely becomes an inspirational role model. They have some wonderful initiatives, and also have the Urban Co-Innovation Hub with some of the finest brains working together towards making cities more sustainable, more vibrant. Hong Kong has reduced their electricity by changing the mix of their energy. Indore, many of you would have visited Indore. Definitely it's a clean city. I had visited Indore at definite points in time, and it definitely stands out now. A lot of, they have some innovative programs like door-to-door waste collections and many interesting points. And then they definitely, citizens, they take pride in it, and there is a lot of participation of citizens. Kochi's water metro is another big initiative. So they have catamarans, okay, and which are electricity operated, okay. So from the fossil fuel, they have gone to the electric operated, battery operated, and it is networked with the city metro system. It is not fully, the project will continue till I think 2035, but they have reported huge reduction in carbon footprint. So these are, and there are many such examples. Coming to my individual experiences, so as Deepak Bhai shared in my introduction, that I work with a company called Celox India. We are a specialty chemical company, and earlier we were known as Transflex Celox. Since the last 3 years we are Celox India. We have developed some CSR practices. There are about 12 intervention areas that we work on, which are all. Sorry, I am late. With your permission, sir? Yes. Thank you. So climate change is definitely one area which we need to work on. It's my firm belief that this is going to be an extremely problematic subject, and this needs to be worked on as of yesterday or maybe yesteryears. So what we do whenever we get public spaces, okay, we try to put forestation through dense forestation techniques like Miyawaki. So there is a Nari Suraksha Guru in Nizampura, okay, and they had some big open spaces. So we planted 600 trees in 22, and this is the recent photograph, what you see in the bottom. So it's almost a dense forest, and the inmates of that shelter home, they take care of these trees with a lot of affection. One school approached us in Veer Savarkar Primary School in Gorwa, and they said, we are interested in green plantations, but we don't have that kind of a space. We said, doesn't matter, and we went ahead and planted a nice fruiting tree garden for them. And the students and teachers were involved in the plantations. They were also given lectures on the varieties of trees, the biodiversity, the importance of greenery, and they also did projects on the species, the fruit species that were planted. Similarly, in Gyan Yajna, again, this was done in somewhere in 22. So this Gyan Yajna Vidya Mandir is in Atladra, and what you see is a very dense kind of a forest, and it actually has a good combination of flowering trees, fruiting trees, creepers, and students, they do regular projects, okay? And the nature is quite miraculous. I mean, once you have a good thriving flora, then it also attracts a variety of other insects and birds and mammals. And that becomes a university, mini university in itself. This is a recent creation. There is an ITI at Tarsali. They had space, and we got into discussion. And in somewhere in February or March, we had this plantation of 4,000 trees. So in 2 years, I'm imagining in 2 to 3 years, it is going to create a huge forest, and it is going to, it does many things. You know, it arrests the erosion of soil. It starts increasing the groundwater table. Okay. It also improves the quality. It arrests air pollution. Okay. And it also sort of increases the probability of rains. So there are at least a dozen benefits of that. Now, I talked about social inequities. We said that it is important that we create an equitable, socially equitable structure. Now, these schools that we work with, okay, they are not from very affluent kind of a backgrounds. These are all government schools, government funded. So we have been sort of creating innovative education programs. So this is again Gyan Yajna Vidya Mandir Atladra, which is next to us. So this is the STEM laboratory, and from the photograph you can make out the level of engagement and interest, okay, that both teachers and students have. In cities, when the destruction of natural habitat and sources of income they change, then you have problem of animals. And there are a lot of stray animals, like cattle, they are abandoned, okay, because they would have stopped yielding milk, or they may be sick, and they are of no use. So they are either abandoned or they are sold to slaughterhouses. And then there are some good natured agencies who sort of rescue them or save them. But they have issues like, they also fall sick, they also generate a lot of waste. So what do? So there is a Panjra board, what we call in Gujarati. So there is a Panjra board in Darjipura who have thousands of animals. So we said, why don't we convert this problem into an opportunity, and started, with a very minimal investment, we started creating or converting their bio-waste into high calorific value biofuel logs. And those logs are sold to industry for industrial boilers. Okay, so it's also a revenue generating stream. And apart from that, of course, they are sold to crematoriums, or where again the chopping of trees is prevented. Now this project also comes very close to my heart. I talked about children who come from very poor background, and if they are not sort of directed or navigated properly, then they either start begging, okay, or they get into crime. Okay. So there is a very noble foundation called Mahavir Foundation, and they run, one of their activities, they run street side schools. So they have these children who typically are from the backgrounds like rack pickers or dehadi construction workers, whose parents have no means to look after them or send them to structured schools. So this street schools is something which happens typically for 3 hours, okay, and they have a very dedicated band of staff. So what we said that, look, you take care of education and we'll take care of their nutrition. Okay, so what we do is we start providing hot nutritious meals at the convenience and at a time, at a place where these schools are held. So every year we serve something like 1 lakh, 1,50,000, 20,000 meals, and the results are that the dropout rates has come down drastically. There are more and more students who want to attend, rather from begging or spending time non-constructively. That in fact their parents are also encouraging them to get enrolled in street schools. So food has become a major attraction, and obviously when we serve the quantities, we serve in a little higher measure so that they can also take the food to their homes. And this is something which we are seeing very positive results. And what you see in this bigger picture is more number of our employees, when they learn about such initiatives, then they also want to step forward, they want to contribute. And it leads to a very positive, virtuous cycle. What you see is smart classrooms. So we talked about equitable access, okay, to things like education or healthcare. So these are smart classrooms. So it is not necessarily the prerogative of privately funded schools. And this is the green belt in our own chemical factory. So this is not a park. This is a green belt in a chemical company which attracts huge amount of biodiversity, and we conduct our biodiversity audits, and every year we get surprised with the new additions of birds and insects that we see here. So my learnings, there are a huge amount of opportunities available to start to solve various problems and make positive contributions. One positive action may lead to a chain reaction or domino effect. Catch them young. It is important to involve students from schools or from colleges. Be in the space of passion and influence. A lot can happen in that space because there are many problems, and at times those problems can be overwhelming. The moment you step into the zone of passion and influence, I think the miracles start happening. And working with ESG framework, that is environment, social and governance framework, it actually gives a very nice framework, nice thinking system or thinking structure, okay, to identify projects and start executing them. So these are some of my learnings, some of my personal experiences. Now I would request all of you to do a small exercise. It won't take much time. Do I have your permission to do that? Okay. Please close your eyes and think about two of your very dear family members who are from your next or next to next generation. I'll repeat, please close your eyes and think of those two very close individuals who could be your son, could be your daughter, could be your grandchildren. Now think of what kind of problems or challenges that we have been facing in last few years. Temperatures rising up to 45, 47 degrees. Cities getting dry. Erratic weathers. Flooding. And these problems have been accentuated. Now if you take human life expectancy, let us say at 80 years. So just do a quick math. How many years these two generations or two dear ones, they are going to spend on this earth? Very simple, 80 minus their current age. If you are ready, please open your eyes. Any volunteers, anyone would like to share what they thought, what they saw? and what they feel. Anyone? So
25 years back, if I see the weather and the kind of condition we used to have, and there is a lot of change. And the grandsons, which are looking, they are going to live another 75 years. So they are going to spend another 3 times that 25 years. So I think situation is going to be very tough.
thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes, madam.
I am not married or I don't have a child, so I cannot think about new generation, but I have a lot of kids with me, that is my college students. So I can see that generation since long, last 30 years I am watching them, and they are transferring from this to what they are today. And if I see tomorrow, I find it disgusting, actually disgusting. Because after Corona, the one major thing which is happened, that they stop thinking, they stop writing, they are not creative more, and that is not only Corona, but the media, that is your internet, mobile, and all that is responsible for that. And that is what, how we will teach the student, that is what I am thinking, and how they are going to create their creativity and all that, that is what I am finding the big question mark over. So
Thank
that
you.
is regarding to education, it's a really something challenging.
Thank you, madam.
Develop their own skills, because they are totally dependent. They can type very well, but they cannot write well.
I could see a lot of yes, sir.
Same way, I could see that all the students, my daughter also right now, she is at 20, having the oxygen mask like bottle water, very with
Oh, sir.
So, over and above what the lady over there said, I have 2 little very beautiful, very nice daughters. So, what I am seeing for them in the next coming decades is less of pure air to breathe, less of pure water to drink, and over and above all these physical things, one major thing which I am seeing drastically reducing is the emotional quotient. You know, what is happening, I am seeing every day is that I have personally stayed for 30 years in a joint family with my kaka and my kaki and my ba and dada. Okay, I am still staying in a very similar situation, but majority of my friends are,
Nuclear families.
they are nuclear families. So the emotional bonding also in the coming years, unless you don't have a grandfather staying with a grandson or a granddaughter, if that does not, because whether you call it sanskar or whether you call it the vibes, that is also reducing a lot. Yes, over and above the breathing and the drinking water and all that, I think this also needs, some kind of a modification to maintain the balance in the society. A lot of things, because how a child is staying with grandfather and grandmother behaves, and how a child behaving without that, their behaviors and actions are very different. And we are the kids these days are, as she said, so much dependent on gadgets that a kid earlier used to go step out of the house and play with kids, whether they have a phone or not, a laptop, and now when
Real
the
games.
same kid, when they are coming